Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's Atlas cooking demo. My name is Samantha, and I am a registered dietitian as well as the wellness coordinator for Atlas. We'll be posting these cooking demos every Thursday and wellness webinars every Tuesday, so if you have any topics or recipes that you're interested in, feel free to send any suggestions my way. Otherwise, you can always contact me with questions, or if you want to schedule an individual nutrition consult, you can email me at stengs@atlas-ips.com. That's stengs@atlas-ips.com. So for this week's wellness theme, it's all about smart grocery shopping and making the most out of your food situation during this quarantine period. So in keeping with the theme, we will be making a minestrone that is made entirely out of ingredients that you can either stock up in your pantry or produce that stays good for a while after purchase. So let's go ahead and get started. For produce, you'll need 1 diced onion, 2 medium carrots chopped, 2 stalks of celery chopped, 1 medium russet potato cut into cubes, and 4 cloves of garlic minced. And a quick note about all these produce items, you'll notice that they are items that can stay good for 2 to 3 weeks after purchasing, making them really smart grocery choices right now when you have limited access to the store. For pantry items, you'll need 1 can of crushed tomatoes, 2 cans of diced tomatoes, 1 can of green beans, and 1 can of a bean of your choice. I usually like to use kidney beans or any type of white bean because they tend to taste a little meatier in the soup. And a quick note as well about the canned pantry items is to try to go for ones that have low sodium or even no salt added to make a more nutritious soup. Other items you'll need include 6 cups of broth. You can choose either chicken or vegetable, whichever you like better. You'll need a 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons of olive oil. And we'll also need some spices. So it'll be 1 teaspoon each of oregano, dried basil, garlic powder, and salt. You'll need 2 teaspoons of black pepper. And you'll need a pinch of red pepper flakes, or even a little more if you like a little extra kick in your soup. And the final ingredient you'll need is some pasta. I prefer to use the whole grain pasta because I think it tastes just as good when it's soaking up all the juices in the soup, and it also has more fiber in it. This recipe can be cooked either stovetop, in a crock pot, or in a pressure cooker, which I'll be using today. The first step is to add the olive oil to whatever pan you're using, and again, that's a 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons. You'll want to heat up that pan. Next, we'll saute the veggies in the oil. So we'll add in the onion, the carrots, the celery, the potatoes, and the garlic. And we're going to go ahead and saute that until they start to get tender, which usually takes about 4 to 5 minutes. And once the veggies are starting to get nice and tender, we can add in the rest of the canned items and the spices. So again, that'll be 1 can of crushed tomatoes, 2 cans of diced tomatoes, 1 can of green beans, and 1 can of bean of your choice. We'll also want to add in the broth, so that'll be 6 cups total of either vegetable or chicken broth. And hopefully you picked a pan that's big enough to hold that much liquid. And then we'll add the spices. So it'll be a teaspoon each of the dried basil, of the oregano, the garlic powder, the salt, and then it's 2 teaspoons of black pepper, and a pinch of red pepper flakes if you like it spicy. We'll go ahead and stir all that in. And there's a few different ways that you could cook it depending on the method. So if you're cooking on the stovetop, at this point you'll want to bring the mixture to a boil and then let it cook for 10 minutes. If you're cooking in a crock pot, then you will cook for 3 hours on the high setting. Or if you're cooking in a pressure cooker like me, you'll go ahead and put the lid on and you'll cook it on high pressure for 7 minutes. And then we'll follow that up with a quick release. And while you're waiting for your soup to cook, this is a great time for you to get started on cooking that pasta. I've already cooked mine, but usually this is what I do while I'm waiting for the soup to cook. And the reason that you can't just put it directly in it is because it can get really mushy since the noodles cook much quicker than the veggies. And once it's done cooking, you'll go ahead and adjust the seasonings as you need to, give it a little taste, and we will add in the pasta. And once it tastes exactly how you like it, it's time to dish up. You can try serving yours with a freshly chopped basil for garnish, or you can also add some grated Parmesan. I personally like to have some nice bread to dip with it. If you're not going to eat it right away too, this soup is also awesome because you can freeze it and reheat it later, and it works really well for stocking up your freezer, especially right now. Thanks for joining us today, and let me know if you have any questions.